This time of the year always makes me nervous, and I'm probably not the only person who feels this way in Korea. On the third Thursday of November, Korean students have the biggest exam of their life called Suneung, which is basically SAT for us. This exam could decide which university I go to, and in a society where educational pressure is so strong, this is the most important exam for Korean students. A lot of students mark this exam as their goal of their student life, and I did exactly the same thing. Since I was in middle school, I studied and prepared myself for this exam to go to a good university and get a good job. In Korean society, people are judged based on which school they graduated from, and it can also influence what kind of job you have. So you can imagine how important this day is. The whole country actually prepares for the exam. Before the exam, students and parents would prepare themselves mentally and physically, and everywhere you go, you'll see messages cheering the students up. There are lucky charms and gifts sold everywhere to give to the students, and actually most places give discounts to students who take the exam. I remember making my daily routine in accordance of the exam day, studying in the order of the subjects that I will have exams, eating the exact meal I will take for lunch so that my stomach doesn't get upset on the exam day. And I did this for like 2 weeks before the exam. And on the day of the exam, there are more buses and subways running to avoid traffic jams so that the students are not late for the exam. And you will actually see police cars and bikes taking students who are late, and you can see how urgent and important it is on the faces of both the student and the police. Stock markets open late, people go to work late, and even planes don't fly. The country just goes into a silent mode. And this is how important this exam is. Outside of the schools where the students take the exam, you can see parents, family, friends waiting and praying for the students, ready to comfort them when they come out. My first Suneung was one of the most painful experiences that I had in my life. And yes, first, because there was a second one for me. Maybe I was nervous, maybe I was too confident. Whatever the reason was, I knew I didn't do so well. I was shaking as I was leaving the school. I was living with a friend back then, so I met up with him and we decided to check the answers. Official answers and results don't come out till later, but there are always the predicted answers online right after the exam, and I compared it with the answers I wrote down on the back of my name tag. We do this so we can prepare for a plan B if we think the results won't be as good as we expected. I was devastated when I checked the answers. I mentioned before I was a nerd, so even if I get 1 or 2 questions wrong, I would feel so bad. And this time, it wasn't just 1 or 2. It was the worst result that I've ever had, and I didn't know what to do. I came home with my friend, and his mom cooked us dinner. When I lifted that first spoon of warm rice, I suddenly burst into tears. 6 years of preparing for this exam, and 6 years of patience and hard work, and my future plans just shattered into pieces in just one day. I was not prepared for this, and I didn't know if I had the power or the will to do this for another year. The results came out, and it was as bad as I expected. I actually don't remember this period very well because it was traumatizing. After graduation and seeing my friends go off to universities, I was numb for a few months. I was sitting in front of the desk because I had to, but I had no will to study again. Then I thought about my family who had high hopes on me. I thought about how well I have done until now, and it would be such a waste to give up. I also wanted to show what I'm capable of, and back then, I still believed if I tried hard enough, I can actually achieve anything. A few months later, it was my second Suneung, and I was more prepared and more motivated than before. But life is so unpredictable. I didn't think anything could go wrong, but it did during the first period. The subject was Korean, and I was getting excited because there were so many things in the test that I studied the day before. But excitement or any kind of big emotional changes aren't good when you're in a pressured environment of taking a test. On top of that, I was sitting in the front of the line, and the supervisor's dress kept brushing against my exam papers, which totally shattered my concentration. But I couldn't afford to fail and do this all over again. I had to calm myself down and somehow get through the rest of the subjects. Instead of going over the questions I was stuck on, I closed my eyes and tried to calm myself, and I told myself that I can do this. By the time the next period started, I was calm and was able to finish the remaining exams with almost a full score on every subject. We can't control what happens in our lives, and sometimes we're going to fail, and sometimes it's going to feel like it's the end. But to be honest, it isn't. It's never too late to give another shot, and it's okay to try one more time, even if it doesn't work out. We will always find a way to figure it out. What matters is that we try hard, and we don't give up even when we are faced with a failure. If I gave up after my first exam, if I stayed the way I did, it would have been hard for me to pull myself together and probably would have felt like I was a failure. If I gave up after the first period of my second exam and studied for another year, I think I would have given up with a big scar left inside of me. Even though I'm on a different path now following my dreams, I'm glad I didn't give up back then. I learned how to bounce back up when I fall down, and I learned that there's always a way out even when things seem to go wrong. I learned how to trust myself and find peace in times when I need them. Everyone has a different experience and has a different path to follow. But I hope you guys can never give up just because you feel helpless. Only walk away when you find a new path and you believe in it. Otherwise, give it another shot because you actually have it in you to make it work. Anyway, thanks for listening to my long bed talk. If you guys ever come to Korea at this time of the year, remember to be on a silent mode. Good night.